Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, I'm sitting down with a guy I've known for quite a while and have trusted with my own hunt planning, my buddy Alex, who is the owner and operator at East to West Hunts. If you're a hunter who wants to hunt the West but feels overwhelmed by points, applications, deadlines, or just not knowing where to start, this episode is going to be for you, help you figure out how to build a real plan. You know, Alex works with hunters who don't have unlimited time to figure all this stuff out on their own, and he helps them turn confusion into a clear, long-term strategy. Alex, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Matt. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, me as well. All right, Alex, before we get into strategy and applications, I want to make sure people understand who you are and where this all started. So, for anyone who doesn't know you yet, who is Alex and what led you to start East to West Hunts?
Yeah, good frame up there. This one will take me back. Well, I'm an average dude, just like everybody else. So let's start there. Yeah, I was a guy that lived in the Midwest who moved out west and wanted to embark on what everybody does, right? I want to kill an elk, and I was a young whippersnapper with a lot to learn, and opened up the regulations book, and I said, "Whoa." This is not what going to the liquor store or the Dick's Sporting Goods and buying a tag is like. So I dove down that rabbit hole. I'm very analytical, and I like spreadsheets and all that stuff. So to me, it was like kind of fun. But I realized after I went out on my first hunt and did that, how many people were coming up to me going like, "Dude, that's so cool. I've always wanted to do it," but like I was super overwhelmed. So it just kind of naturally happened for me where I just started helping people out, and before you know it, I was like, God, this is a need. Like people don't know how to do this, or they're scared to do this, whatever the case is. Funny story though, I actually worked through an application service for sheep points when I was kind of embarking on that, kind of the same time frame. And I also realized that that was like it was a poor service. And that was what clicked for me where I was like, okay, this is going to be like a business venture for me. And now 10 years in, this will be the 10th full year I've been in business. So yeah, so I do a tag application, a hunt planning service, and I basically make it as super simple and easy to help people out and take the burden off of it by one, really talking through what an actual strategy is, and we work throughout the entire year for it. So it's not just, hey, we're going to apply for points or buy a tag or whatever the case is. It's a system, and that's really the key component of it. It's a system.
Yeah, I think you really nailed it. You know, you found a gap in the Western hunting space specifically. You know, now that people understand kind of why East to West hunts exist, let's talk about who it's really for. So, who do you primarily help today? You know, what does your ideal client look like?
Yeah, this one's really hard. I was actually typing this up. I was looking at a problem statement the other day. I would love to say it is ideally for either somebody that's gone out west, maybe they didn't have a great experience, or somebody that's just new to Western hunting. But I mean, I got clients all over the country. And they're guys that hunt every year, or they've had 20 points in their hunting for a trophy. So it's really not that like pigeonholed into one specific category. That part's it's kind of cool, in that respect. So really, it's for a lot of folks, but I would say it's for the person that either does not have the time or doesn't want to do the stuff. So could be business professional that like, dude, I'm working all the time. Like I want somebody to handle it and I know it's done right. Or, hey, I'm new to this. I really want to understand it, but I really want, to really have a true strategy to this and I don't want to screw it up. So, it works out for both.
Yeah, that description probably hits home for a lot of guys listening. So let's dig into why this is such a common struggle. In your experience, why do so many hunters get stuck or frustrated with Western hunting before they even draw a tag?
Well, one, we talked about the regulations, right? So it's overwhelming, right? You look at it and you're like, oh my God, I gotta look at an encyclopedia of stuff. But now you blow it up into like every state's got its own thing. So like I like to compare it to like being a CPA and like a financial advisor all in one, because you got to know every state for your taxes, and then you're managing a portfolio of stuff for folks. So that's a pretty good like analogy in my perspective. It could be different for folks, but that's really kind of how I look at it. But I guess the frustration part is, there's a lot out there, and what I've seen over the years is either folks are wasting points and opportunities, or they're like missing deadlines, and overall they really don't have a strategy, so they're wasting money and they're wasting time. Here's a good example. Hey, I want to go hunt elk. It's April, and they're reaching out going, I want to hunt elk, and I want to go to Colorado. Cool. Why'd you pick Colorado? Well, because like that's what I think of when I hear elk hunting. Okay, cool. And when do you want to go hunt? Oh, I want to go hunt in September. I want to go archery, and I want to kill a giant bull. And it's like, okay, well, let's let's step back. Let's walk through that, because we don't have a lot of options, right? And we just had Colorado change their process this year, or last year now, with no over the counter archery tags. So one, we got to apply. We got to know what units we're looking at. We really have never seen the draw odds for over the counter to 0 point unit, and we're stuck on Colorado. So a lot of times it's like, let's step back, let's ask the right questions, and let's kind of frame it up. And then, let's get you out in the field, but let's talk about all the opportunities to do so. So a lot of folks will go apply for something, and then they're going to say, man, I didn't draw. Well, I guess I'm not going. And then they miss a year. And then before you know it, now next year they're applying for a couple things and they're frustrated. And then before you know it, it kind of like builds out. They're just like, what's it going to take? And it doesn't need to be frustrating, but like that time and money that you're spending really could be utilized in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that a lot of that frustration, it isn't just bad luck, right? It's self-inflicted. So what are some of the most common things you see hunters doing that actually push them further away from the opportunity to hunt and not closer to it?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Frustration is built. Yes, it's self-inflicted wounds. I mean, honestly, it's like poor preparation to anything, right? Like, um, you know, the, I know we've talked over the years about fitness, right? We both love that game, but it's like, you can't just walk into the gym and start lifting 300 pounds and expect to crush it, right? So you got to have a plan to that, and then you're frustrated, like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. Yeah, you can. Like, you could do it this year if you want to. So yeah, common deadlines. I'm sorry, common mistakes are like missing deadlines is a huge one. People don't realize the deadlines, or they think like there's a different time to do it or whatever the case is. And they don't realize that every state has a different deadline. Certain states have different deadlines for different species. So that's like a huge dynamic to it. So that's one. You know as well as I, if you miss a deadline one year, that could put you back a lot. Maybe you'll never even catch up to what you actually were trying to apply for in the first place. Um, so that's a big one. They have no strategy. That's a big mistake. It's just kind of like blindly applying for stuff, and then it really kind of wastes those opportunities. Uh, and another one that I've really watched a lot is guys wasting points. Like, I was just actually looking yesterday. I had a client reach out and they're like, "Hey, I want to chat about potentially using some points for mule deer in Colorado." We were chatting about, and we're talking about a unit. And I go look at the unit, which was like a 1 point unit. And there were dudes burning 7, 8 points in that unit for last year. And I'm sitting there going like, who applied for that unit with seven? And then multiple dudes are doing it, right? So like either they just wanted to burn their points because they wanted to get out of it. Uh, I don't know. Obviously, I'm just looking at the numbers, but it is quite common when I talk to guys who are like, "Oh, I burned it in this unit." And I'm like, "Why'd you pick that unit?" "Oh, my buddy told me." And I'm like, not a good strategy, man.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Any
you
answer
put
with my buddy told me.
you know, so yeah, it's a lot of times it's like hearsay. And I'm sure you've heard it. It's like, hey, so and so said this was a good place, so I put in for it, and it was a zoo or whatever the case is. So just giving people realistic expectations of what it's like, I think really grounds you. And yeah, that's probably the three most common that I see. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think, we're in a weird time where maybe there's too much information or misinformation, so how big of an issue is information overload right now when you're speaking with clients, and why does too much info often lead to no action on their part?
Well, overanalysis causes paralysis. That's for sure. I was talking. I was at the gym this morning. I was talking to a gentleman. He approached me about. Ironically enough, he bought a hunting vest off of me off of Facebook Marketplace, and then I ran into him at the gym the next day. I was like, "What are the odds?" So he's got hunting property. We were talking about he's coming up with every excuse of why not to sell his property, and I was like, "I'd give you some positives, but like don't overthink it." And he was like, "That was really good advice." Like I think a lot of information is great, but like you're digesting it in such a facet where it doesn't make sense. So uh YouTube is a phenomenal resource, right? I'm on YouTube. I have stuff on YouTube, but let's be honest, like if I'm putting out different stuff, none of it's aligned, right? Like I have some stuff coming out, but it's not like you're going to be able to piece something together step by step. Well, now you're listening to 10 different platforms with different things. It convolutes the entire thing, and now you really don't have a plan of action. You're just kind of shooting from the hip. So information's great, but again, it's like you got to have a plan to what you're putting together. I think that's probably the biggest miss. And I don't know if you expected me to bring that up or not, but the AI craze is kind of funny. There's a lot of information out there. I actually saw a guy putting together a hunt plan off of ChatGPT, and it sent him off in the middle. I don't even know where the hell he ended up.
Oh, I 100% believe it. If you, a couple of months ago, I searched in ChatGPT as just looking for some information on Idaho since it was the first year for the non-resident draw, and I could ask ChatGPT the same question. Like I could ask the question, I could log back out and go into a new chat. I could ask the same question. I could get an answer. I got like three different answers from it in it's
Yep.
one platform giving me three different answers.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, AI is cool, but it's only as good as the prompts that you give it. And if you don't even know where you're going in the first place, you're not going to get much out of it. But it's kind of a cool test, right? You can kind of see where that's going. And then, another one is, dude, there's a lot of like services out there, right? Like everybody's competing for somebody's dollar. And there are different bits of information from those services, right? So it could be on like sheep hunting, it could be on guided hunts. It could be on points, right? Like I'll be the first one to say, like, I look at points on a lot of different services. Like Onyx has point stuff, Go Hunt's got point stuff, Hunting Fool's got like everybody. All these resources have different point things. But when you go back to like the actual state game and fish stuff, you really can start kind of putting together some methodology. So when I look at it, I'm actually framing up a lot of stuff based on where I think it will be this year, not necessarily what the prior thing is, because you got to format what is Point Creek going to look like. And maybe I'm talking too in depth for folks, but Point Creek means like it might go up year to year, meaning what that increase is going to require. So if you're looking at a point state and it says it's 1 point today, it might actually be 2 points next year. If we're talking, I might tell you it's going to take you 2 years worth of points, not one, and we're going to kind of under promise, over deliver if we need to. But yeah, there's so many resources. I mean, every mapping platform now has points in it. Uh, and that's because everybody's trying to compete to have that one resource that's perfect. Nothing's perfect. Just like when I'm putting maps together for folks, I use like 5 different maps because not one of them's perfect. you know? So, yeah.
you've done a great job. You've really framed up a lot of the different problems that are out there. So let's switch gears and talk about solutions. Walk us through your process. What does it actually look like when somebody comes to you for help?
Well, yeah, that's very detailed. So to give you like a Cliff's Notes version, it's essentially let's seek to understand what the individual wants, right? And then let's really kind of frame up, when do they want to do it? Are they going to want to do this only one time? We know if this is their first time, they're going to get hooked, right? So they're not they're going to be going again. But maybe they've been hunting 10 plus years out west, right? Like, what have they figured out that they like to hunt, what they don't? Are they open to different weapons? Are they only, stuck in archery or rifle or whatever the case is? I am actually big. I don't think a lot of people think about it, but like, what season do they actually want to hunt? Because some guys uh, really are stuck on a bow, but they actually want to hunt in like a later season. They want snow on the ground, or vice versa. They want warmer weather. They don't want to be in really cold weather. So that actually can kind of frame up the weapon scenario too. How do they want to camp? How do they want to hunt? How do they want to execute the hunts? So we really kind of take all the Q&A, then I break it down, and I will come back pretty much with like a little presentation of what this is going to look like if they move forward. And then we really start kind of working through that process throughout the year. I'm big on, as I said, the strategy. So I'm very organized. I have a lot of different like spreadsheets, points. We measure everything. I keep track of everything, right? So it keeps it easy for the client. But um, what I'm trying to do is I want to build an entire case for the entire year. So that way we know when we can pull a specific lever for the individual when we need to. And we always have a plan B or a plan C. So if we don't draw in Arizona and we don't draw in New Mexico and we don't draw in Wyoming, for example, the three states that are live right now, what are we planning for next? Well, we have Montana, we have Colorado, we have Nevada, whatever the case is, right? So it's kind of like playing out what are our long-term, what are our short-term opportunities? And I really like to look at everything in like a 0 to 3 year, 4 to 7 year, 8 year plus time frame. So we kind of bucket states into different pillars, and we really build this big plan of how many states and what are we really looking to do out of that time length. And then at the end of the year, here's where people really, really have an opportunity. People wrap up a hunt and then they just are like done. So like, to me, it's like, let's recap, let's take note. I want to know exactly what happened. And now what do we learn from it? And then what are we looking for next year? And then we now jump into the next year. So this is like a full year thing. This isn't like we're just going to do some random stuff and then we just stop. Like, this is a continuous cycle to compound things over time.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And that was going to be one of my next questions, but you already hit it, that it's not just about this year, it's about that long-term strategy. And I don't know if it's a school thing and we're just kind of anti-journaling, anti-recap, but I run into a lot of guys, even for what I prescribe, when you're looking at an individual hunt, how many guys don't take notes? They don't write down what worked, what didn't, when they didn't, maybe they were paying attention to the wind, but they, misjudged the thermals, and they didn't take note of any of that. And it's a lot harder to learn and go through that process when you're not doing that. So I love to hear, that you asked your clients, to break down the hunt and see what worked and what didn't work. And that only helps, future clients as well, so that you can give them that information. And that all ties into that long-term planning.
Yeah, Matt, you're spot on, dude. Like, I I had a client who was successful. We did a hunt plan in Montana. It was four guys that went on Montana. They got two bulls out of four guys, which is huge. And it was their first hunt in the lower 48. They hunted in Alaska and hunted for moose, but they never hunted in the lower 48 for elk, and shot some really nice elk. But I don't know. We were recapping the hunt, and then I was like, you know what the number one mistake is that I see is like, guys think that like they're gonna spend like 8 hours in an area and then they cross it off and they move on. And you got to spend a little bit of time in there. And he's like, dude, he's like, It's so spot on. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, the day that I shot my bull was the second evening, and I was like pissed that we were there because we didn't see anything the first day besides chasing one bugle. And then this bull came out of nowhere and I shot him, you know, within minutes. And I was like, yeah, so like to you, your impatience would have actually caused you to move, and you guys shot two bulls there and then the next day. So don't take that for granted, but that would have been a good recap of note of like what was a mistake or what was an opportunity out of it that you really could take away for the next season. So it's huge.
And, none of it really matters. None of that long-term planning matters if the execution falls apart, right? So why is applying correctly and on time such a critical piece? And why do you think guys mess that up? Because, if I hear that, when I heard that the application for Idaho was when it was going to open up, I mean, that was in my calendar, So why do you think guys mess that up?
uh I guess the like blunt answer, people are unorganized, man. Like it's and that's okay. Like the reality is like I don't expect everybody to be me, but then lean on the organization piece, right? Like I use my kids as an example. One of them's super organized. Her room is color coded and tidy. The other one's just, it's a hot mess. Like there's just stuff all over the place. She knows where everything's at, but if I go through there, I can't find a pair of socks for the life of me, right? so, so that is just human nature in that respect. So it's kind of like, the organization is just different, right? I got deadlines. I got tasks for every client. I know exactly what's going on day by day, month by month. So if you're that hyper organized, like a system that you can run is great. But if you don't, then lean on somebody for that system so it takes it off your plate to make it better for you.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's
y-
why I brought that up because that's one of the I mean, for me, you are a 10 out of 10 in the organization piece, I mean, I saw that right away, years ago when you and I first talked about some stuff and, uh, so I really think that that's nice to be able to rely on you, if I have a question for you, I know you're just not gonna be throwing that off the cuff. It's built on your organization and research and you know what you're talking about.
I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, you're spot on. I'm not gonna give you the short, quick thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let's fast forward a little bit because
Yeah.
drawing the tag is only half the battle, and you've talked
Yep.
into some of the execution pieces. But once somebody draws a tag, how do you help them specifically, transition from I drew a tag to actually being prepared to succeed on that hunt?
Yeah. I don't shy away from telling folks that they need to be working out. That's one. Uh, nothing in depth there, but I'm just basically like motivating them if they're not doing it year round because that's a critical part. I could give you the best thing on paper, but if you can't physically get there or you're burned out within the first day, you're probably not going to do well. I mean, that's just very blunt and honest. And yeah, or maybe it could work well if you're hunting a late season rifle hunt in the prairie or the lowlands, but it's not going to work on an archery hunt where I need you at 12,000 feet, So, so that's kind of a built-in reality check. And then it's honestly, it's the hunt planning. I mean, that is like the steak and potatoes of it, where it's what I do is I take a 3D model of it. And then we talk through what are your expectations of how you want to hunt this, right? So guys are going to hunt out of a hotel. They're going to hunt out of a base camp, right? A typical big old tent. They're going to be maybe walking into the area every day, or maybe they're going to drive into an area and hike, or they're going to do a backcountry style hunt. And maybe they don't want to do any of those and they want to go guided, right? So we kind of got to vet that whole thing out because guys change every year. Like people draw the tag, they want to go by themselves, and all of a sudden they go, you know what, man, I want to hire a guide. Okay, fine. No problem. So I'll work on finding the outfit side. If we're working on the hunt plan, though, the camp situation is such a critical piece because that tells me how far we can go and what kind of things we're looking at. I like to look at, where are the closest city aspects? How are we getting in and out of areas? And then I map things out based on what we expect the weather to be, but then also we have a plan B off of like if we have bad weather. So that way we can transition right off the bat, and we have an escape plan out of it if those animals are going to move. And then we really talk about how we're going to hunt those areas. So there is an educational process to it, but a guy walking in prepared, knowing exactly where they're going, and we've talked through it, gone through it in a 3D model, and then we have it on paper and in their maps, is a much different ball game than somebody spending 30 hours just putting a bunch of waypoints on the map. But then when they get there, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go here because I like this waypoint. Like that, again, that's not really a strategy. Maybe it's a feeling, but there really isn't a plan of execution.
Step into the backcountry and step up your elk hunting game at Elk Camp 2026. This isn't a seminar, it's an immersive experience with real field training alongside successful elk hunters Matt and Saxton Hartsky. You'll learn how elk think and move, break down terrain like a pro, call with confidence, and practice 3 days of real-world elk hunting scenarios that mirror what you'll face on your own hunt. This camp was built to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be in the mountains. With limited spots and hands-on coaching, you'll walk away sharper, more prepared, and ready to hunt with purpose and confidence. Elk Camp 2026. Sharpen your edge. Register now and prepare for the season like never before at backboneunlimited.com. And with Backbone Unlimited, I mean, like that's pretty much our whole premise is helping guys prepare better. How often do you see guys? I mean, I hear it all the time, especially from newer guys. They pour out their dreams and their hopes and their aspirations to kill, but they show up unprepared. How often do you see guys show up unprepared?
Early on when I was doing this, a lot more than now, just because I've been working with the same people for so long. But it does happen, right? I mean, a client that's just started working out with me, this year or last year potentially, and they go on their first hunt, like, they'll send me a note going, "Hey man, I underestimated the physical part." That's usually the number one thing. Like even with the guys that were successful, they sent me a note saying, "Dude, we didn't take our fitness seriously enough." So that's usually where I hear the most about it. The execution. If I hear about the execution part, it's more so on the fact of I did their tag applications, but maybe they didn't get a hunt plan done. Because the way that my service works is you can pick to do a la carte stuff, or you can get it all bundled as one for the year. So the guys that just do the a la carte, some of them won't necessarily get a hunt plan. They'll do it on their own, and then they'll basically say like, "Man, we got smoked," or whatever the case is. It's a learning lesson, but we walk through it anyways, and we talk about where the mistakes come from, and we kind of recap it for the next year. So, you could look at it poorly, or you could look at it as like a learning experience. If you take it positively, I think that's still a really, really big win. Because I could tell you, you live in a really good spot. You can spend some time out where you're at, right? But for a lot of guys, dude, they might only have 5 days to get out there. Like it better be the best 5 days you have. And what if you got a storm, or something else happens, or maybe you kill a bull, but now you got another buddy, right? Like you're splitting that 5 days between two people. You don't have a lot of time. So yeah, preparation's key, but that's pretty typical of what I would say is common.
And unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of times too, you get the boots in the dirt and then, you're planning for the next year. But hopefully guys will hear this and take it serious, and not wait until that failure happens and have to just plan for a future hunt. So yeah, that's great. And you've got the experience to help foresee a lot of those potential fail points and help guys through that ahead of time. Let's get back to a little bit more on the application portion of it, because I know a lot of folks listening are going to be, more curious about some of that. And let's make it practical, because not
Mhm.
everybody listening is in the same spot. Let's take somebody that's brand new with 0 points. What's the smartest way for them to start right now?
I would say really talk about what you want to accomplish this year. So if you do want to get out this year, you need to find out where you actually could potentially hunt this year and make it one of those places that could be a little bit more of a for sure. So, consider over the counter tags or consider stuff that would maybe be a higher draw odds scenario for you. And then think of a plan B. What would be plan B, right? Like what's your for sure at that point? Uh, and then I'm a really big advocate of you really should be applying in about 3 states minimum, and I think 5 or more is really critical. So if I can get guys to do 5 states, we we have a lot of good levers that we can pull over time in their strategy. So that as simple as that is, like I mean, you want to get out in the field. I think the concept of like, oh, this thing is going to be perfect, like you're never going to have perfect. You're better off getting your butt in the field and experiencing it than waiting. You want to talk about a mistake. Could you imagine applying for 10 years, never actually hunting an elk, and you draw a tag that you had no business drawing and then you've never hunted them, so you have no clue what the hell you're doing? Like, that behooves me. I just don't understand that. You're better off doing 10 over the counter hunts, eating crap on 8 of them, and then you go into this bomber unit and you just have elk all over the place with no pressure, and then you realize you're a lot better hunter than you think you are.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know?
Yeah,
So
100%. I just had a guy last week, was hoping to hunt here in Wyoming with me, and we drew elsewhere, and so our plans kinda my son's plans and I kinda changed, and, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do that, but I can still give you some good information. You should still go," and didn't wanna do that, felt like without somebody there to help him, his odds weren't as good, and I just think that's a huge mistake because you're not gonna learn near as much unless you get out there and do it. Even if
totally.
we did get to hunt, together in a year or 2, he's not going to be as good or prepared if he doesn't get out there this year.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know how your success has been personally, but like how many hunts did you do by yourself just learning? I mean, could you think off the cusp in your history like what that looked like?
Yeah, well, even last year, I spent 18 days wondering if I really knew what I was talking about at all, so I mean, that was season 34,
I love it.
so I guess 34 seasons, Alex, I'm
Okay.
still,
I
figuring
love
it
it.
out.
Yeah, you're always that's the point. You're always learning. It's so good. That was a great answer.
All right, buddy. So getting back to some of that application stuff, and you've touched on it here and there. So I'm kind of trying to weave
Yeah.
between your great answers. A lot of guys feel like they're forced to choose between hunting now, or saving points forever. So how can hunters hunt sooner without giving up on those long-term dream tags?
Yeah, this is a good one. You want to frame up what are your long-term like goals? You go back to those goals, right? So I want to kill, I want to kill a big bull. I want to kill a 170-inch buck, and I want to like I would love to kill a moose one day, right? All right, well, now we got to really kind of stay. What are the states that we think that we are going to have the opportunity to do this in, and then start really looking at what those draw odds actually look like for the easiest to get to areas and the hardest, right? And then you really start kind of mapping out what's this like short-term, long-term solution. So I really like the states that are bonus point states. Those a lot of times they're going to be kind of your longer term states to build in, honestly, because you never really can guarantee anything unless you're like the top point holder in some of those states. And then you have your like states that are random draw states. Those are really good states to just throw in any given year for a Hail Mary. And then you got your states where you can kind of bank on the point situations, or maybe you just know that your odds are higher, or maybe they're over the counter. Like my first 8 seasons of hunting elk, I did over the counter hunts, because I didn't want to burn points. And even so, now that I'm burning points, like I'm burning 10, 12, 15 points, those are really good hunts, but they took me 15 years to try to get to these tags, and I have the ability to do it. So that's kind of that strategy. You want to bucket stuff into, like, if you want now, go now. There's plenty of good opportunities. Go do a second rifle season hunt in Colorado. Go get an over the counter tag and go kill a spike elk with a bow in archery in Utah. Like, those are great hunts to get out there and experience some great units, and then build points around that. And in any given year, go throw in for some random stuff, but you just need to know what those situations are going to look like if you draw too much, or what's your backup plan.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Great advice. If you had to boil it down to something simple, what is one change that hunters could make this year that would immediately improve their odds or experience?
Ooh, one thing that they could do to improve their odds or their experience. Well, that's a loaded question, man. Um, Geez, you got me thinking now.
Perfect.
One thing is hard. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, if it's one thing to improve, I I would really reflect on where you think you suck. Like, uh, I'll give you mine as an example. Like, I'm not the guy that shoots my bow 10 arrows a day for 365. Like, I'm going to put in for an archery tag. If I draw it, then I'm going to start shooting my bow, because now I have an archery hunt coming up and I'm going to practice for it. Right. So, um, that's an opportunity for me. I'm well aware of it. So, like, I need to get better with my bow at longer range. And if I go back a year or two ago, I might have had an archery hunt where, like, I wouldn't shoot at something past 40 yards, but I had an opportunity at 50, and I screwed the pooch because that would have been my success or not. This is a true story, by the way. I had a nice buck at 60 yards. He was at 62 yards in Colorado. My first day out there. And I got into this really nice area, and I was like, man, this really looks like a great buck situation. I ended up setting up shop. I'm glassing in this, like, drainage across, and here come like 7 bucks 60 some yards away from me. You surprise me. I grab my bow, I'm hitting them, they're moving, whatever. Dude stops. I literally shoot right under his chest. So I didn't practice at 60 plus yards. I practiced at 50 or below. Like, that's on me. So if I'm going to improve and say, like, what's one thing that's going to help me this year? It's going to be like, where did I screw up? So, like, I think that's an important part. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, where's your opportunity? Or it could be, maybe your fitness wasn't there. Maybe you didn't shoot well with your rifle. Maybe you didn't have a strategy. Like, whatever it is, I really think you really got to reflect and improve, and just say, like, well, I sucked it up on this, like, I could get better from it. That's
Absolutely.
probably the best answer I could give you, man.
Yeah, that's great, man. Off the cuff, especially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah,
You've given
that
us
was
a lot
tough.
of tips. Yeah. You pulled it out, brother.
Oh man, that was tough.
You've given us a lot of good tips and strategies just like that. But strategy sounds great on paper. Results are what really matter. Can you share a success story where somebody came to you frustrated, overwhelmed, and how things changed once they actually had a plan?
Dude, I have a lot. I'm gonna share a stat with you. I actually almost hesitate to share this because this is crazy. Oh, I got guys that go guided every year. I got guys that get hunt plans every year. Majority of my clients get hunt plans. Last year was my best year ever when it came to hunt plans, where 90% of guys were successful on hunt plans. That's, like, stupid. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
Awesome.
And when people book with an outfitter, they go, what are my odds, right? Like, what are my harvest success rates or whatever. And I'm like, dude, like, you either kill or you don't. It's 50%. Like, that's just being real with you. You know what I mean? So, like, if somebody's telling you 75, 80, 100% shot opportunity, whatever. But like proof on paper, 9 out of 10 hunt plans resulted in a harvest. That's pretty dang good. It's never been that high. We usually are like in this high 50 to 60% range. So I think that's just a huge stat of success that can happen. So this year, I can just use an example, but I had a referral come through from a great client of mine, and he's like, "Hey, this guy he's just overwhelmed, doesn't know really where to start, and wants to shoot an elk, whatever the case is." So I think we started the prior year, like in November or December. We built in the whole year. We tried to hunt. He was like, if I don't go out this year, it's no pressure kind of a deal. Uh, but I knew he really wanted to go. Like all the signs were there that he really wanted to go. And he was like, I want to go and do it. Cool. Or he's like, I'm going to go and do it if I can. So I said, cool. So we drew a tag in a low point unit in Colorado, and dude, he was like torn up on the phone that he drew it. He drew a tag, and then he went out this year, and he shot an elk on like his 5th day, and I was in Utah. This will tell you a little bit about my service, right? Like I'm always on, and I'm always talking to clients. Like I got a text this morning at 5:30. At like 6:30, I responded back to a client. I get text at 10:30 at night. I'm probably going to respond back to him, right? It's a fun factor for me. I'm on a hunt in Utah, and I'm getting texts from from this guy, and he's got a bull down, and I'm like trying to get service to try to text him back. I'm like, I just can't. But I was so pumped for the guy, like,
Yeah.
you're torn up after drawing a tag. Just imagine how you feel killing your first elk, and it's been like one of your dreams. So dude, it can be done, but don't over complicate the ability to get out there, even on like a lower point unit. And he shot a damn nice bull too. I mean, like a 315 bull. It's for in a low point unit, like it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. But man, 90% of hunters being successful that you work with once they have the plan. I mean, that just speaks volumes. That is a crazy stat, man.
It's wild.
After working with guys like that who was just stoked to get that first elk, what kind of feedback do you hear most often after somebody goes through the process, and he was able to pull that off?
I I mean, the best feedback that somebody can give me is a referral. So usually what ends up happening is guys go hunt, they get something down, and then within like 3 weeks, I have like 4 more guys out of that connection group now involved. That's really just it's how my business has grown to where it's at now is almost purely word of mouth. I mean, I do a bunch of stuff on social media and stuff, but it's not the same as like, you got pure contact with a really, really good person that has found out about you from somebody else. So um, that's what happens every time. That's what happened with this client. He referred over his brother and somebody else. So now I got multiple people in the family. And feedback is usually like, thanks so much. This really made things like way more simple for me. Um, this is easy because I don't have to worry about everything. It's just taken off my plate. Um, I just think people are thankful, man. Like it doesn't have to be overwhelming if you have a resource. As well as I that the state of business now is everything's going towards less labor, more automation. You're talking to a computer, a bot, some kind of crap like that. And while that's great for businesses, it actually is going to completely recycle back to the only businesses that will matter are the people that actually have a human behind it. So I think that's where like people want to talk to someone. They want to call someone. They want to actually see someone. I like to do video calls with people because I like to see who I'm talking to and have a good time. But I think that's kind of lost in our society now. Everybody just wants to save labor and talk to a computer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I would say the same thing. My feedback working with you, same thing. Just yeah, just peace of mind. Yeah, feeling like you've made solid choices because you've got somebody that's experienced in all this, giving you the feedback and their perspective. And again, like we said earlier, you're not going to get that from AI. You're not going to get that from Chat GPT. So absolutely. And I could see you getting a ton of that kind of feedback. You've seen this from every angle now, right? As a hunter, going through the application and hunt processes out of state many times yourself, as well as helping a ton of people over the years. So, what's the most rewarding part for you personally? Helping guys finally draw or helping them actually succeed once they do?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to myself if I didn't say that the grip and grin at the end of the whole thing is definitely like the highlight. Um, but it I really like to frame it up. We say the 90%, right? That's a really wild statistic. As I said, like I almost cringe saying that. Um, but soak in the experience. I think that's like the biggest advice that I can say to folks because like you're not going to be successful every single time you go out there. I mean, if you are, shout out to you, but what ends up happening is if you are successful all the time, you're going to heighten your own goals or expectations, and that will lead to now you're really kind of holding out for stuff. So that success rate changes if you're like, I only want to shoot this style of animal and all I saw was smaller stuff. Okay, well that's a little bit different, um but I really I just love hearing that people are enjoying the experience. They had a good time and it's a win for them. But dude, there's nothing better. Like this year, for example, I was like, I don't maybe I don't do a good job of this. I don't like I don't share people's stuff on social a lot, right? Like people send me hundreds of pictures every year, but I don't like go posting them on social media. That's not like my thing. So this year I was like, I gotta do a little better job. I'm gonna shout out some of my clients, so I'm texting them like, hey dude, you okay if I send this pic out? And they're like, yeah, for sure. But people don't like tag that, right? And it's almost like I don't know why. They don't post their own stuff or their own success. Maybe they're not big on social media, whatever the case is, but who doesn't get brightened up by like being posted online and sharing like, oh, look at what this guy did, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, dude, thanks so much. This is so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So, if I can bring that back to them and kind of replay that highlight, like you're replaying that. I'm looking at one of my deer right now, like, that mountain, your office or whatever, or all the stuff. I bet you know the story behind every single thing on that wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I think that's pretty rewarding to be able to kind of bring those memories to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet, I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own perspective on it, I mean, I can't tell you how thrilled, Saxon and I were, I couldn't wait. I knew ahead of time that we drew before he got home. I could not wait for him to walk in the door and tell him that he drew, just so I could watch his face, And, obviously, yeah, for us, I mean, yeah, we're gonna go give it heck and try to get a couple bulls down and that'll be great. But even just golly, the excitement of knowing we drew that tag and being able to look forward to it and imagine it. I mean, the next 9 months leading up to that hunt, that's what you helped us with,
Hmm.
and so that in terms of, how you look at the success of it. I mean, I don't know, 9 months of getting to look forward to it versus, we might hunt for that might be a 10-day hunt for us or something, I
Hmm.
mean, that 9 months is gonna be pretty cool.
I mean, you sharing that is an important piece to it, right? Because um, I know you and I might have talked about this. I believe we did, but it's like we might take certain things for granted because we feel so like it's second nature to us, right? Like I I'll give you an example this morning. I'm at the gym, dude's doing this exercise, and he looks at me, and then he it took him some courage, because he walked up to me. He's like, "Hey, can you help me out with this? Like I don't know what I'm doing." I'm like, "Yeah." so I'm like, "Well, what are you trying to do?" He's like, "Well, I'm trying to do this tricep thing, but like like this is too high, so like I'm having to come up here." He's doing a tricep press, right? And I'm like, "Well, okay, what are you trying to do? Like, are you trying to work out your arm, or are you trying to put your core into it?" And he's like, "No, just my arms." Like, well, you want to put your back up against this. I'm showing him whatever the case is. And then I'm like, "You know what? Swap with me. Go on this machine. I'll go on this one." And then I kind of coached him through it. And then I let him do his thing. I walked off. He followed me to the other side of the gym, and he just like, "Dude, thank you so much." So I was like, pretty nice. Got his name. Now I'm probably going to see him all the time. And, it'll be a nice, relationship of another normal person at the gym to say hi to. But in perspective, that's second nature to me. To him, it's the first thing. It's so basic. To your point, like, you got 9 months of something, like, you appreciate that. To me, I know what that feels like to me. I don't know what that feels like to you. So hearing that, it like adds a component to it of like, damn, like that means a lot. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to share that kind of stuff, because to me, it's just, hey, I want you to draw this tag. Here's where we're
Yep.
going. Here's what we're doing. I'm following a process.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So that's cool, man. I
Absolutely. I
appreciate
think that happens a lot with coaching, right? Like, we're not necessarily always thinking about what that other person is getting on the receiving end. We're just thinking about going through our process and what we know has a high likelihood of success. And
Right.
I think
Yep.
that connection though is important, just for just for our own peace of mind and gratification and all those things, to know that we're really helping somebody. And you definitely are. There's somebody listening right now, though, Alex, who's thinking, "Yeah, this is all good, guys, but I'm stuck. I don't know what to do next." What would you tell him to do as his next step?
Just reach out. Yeah. If somebody's feeling stuck, just reach out. I would say the best way to do it, go to my website. It's www.east2westhunts.com. So east2westhunts.com. Literally the very first thing is, free consultation. Just book a call. We'll spend 45 minutes, an hour, just talking about what you're trying to do. And, if I can help you, great. If I can't, at least I give you a, peace of mind that we tried. And yeah, I feel pretty confident we could probably find something, a good opportunity for the person. But yeah, just again, having somebody to talk to make sense of it, I think, is key. And it'll simplify the process versus trying to patch up a bunch of information that's probably going to take you a lot of time, honestly. So,
Percent. And we're going to put all of Alex's contact and his direct links in the description of the podcast and in the YouTube description. So if you guys just want to click there, it'll take you directly to Alex, and you can connect and book with him there. I think the biggest takeaway from this conversation is that most hunters don't fail because they don't care, or not because they don't work hard, but they fail because they never had a clear plan, right? And we talked about plan and strategy over and over and over again. Points, applications, deadlines, unit choices aren't hard because hunters are incapable. It's because the system is confusing, maybe a little unforgiving, and you've got a lot to look at. And so what you said today really laid out and showed what the right strategy and the right timing and the right preparation, what all that can do for helping Western hunting become a lot more achievable and a lot less stressful for guys, right? So if you're listening to this and you felt stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're spinning your wheels year after year, and I'm just hopeful that this episode is going to help you realize that you're not alone. We've all been there, and that there's a better way to approach all of it. Alex, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your experience, and breaking this down in a way that actually helps people move forward.
yeah, appreciate being able to come on and good connecting with you again, man. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are one heck of a resource. So thank you. And thank you guys for watching or listening. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.